Hi, it's Ricky of Moshville Times here once again. Now, tonight I'm delighted to welcome Malediction, who are a UK old school death metal band who couldn't let the rotten corpse, that is Malediction, rot away and are well and truly back to haunt us all. So tonight we've got twin guitarists Rich and Mark, and we've got vocalist Shaun to tell us all about it. So the rest of the band are too camera shy, but that means that we can just take the mick out of them. So that is okay. So how are you guys doing? It must be exciting times.
It's exciting, that's for sure. It's been great getting back with these guys after so many years.
Yeah, that's something that I was actually going to ask. Like, I'd imagine that there wasn't any fallout or anything like that. It's just maybe like the mid-90s, people were doing like living things like meeting families and relationships and getting married and jobs and all the rest of it. There was no big fallout or anything like that, so it wasn't too hard to get back.
It sort of went on hiatus, right?
Yeah, it just sort of we did an album in '96 that never got released, and it just sort of we finished that and it just sort of fizzled out really, and we never sort of had a conversation saying that's it. We just stopped. So
yeah,
and whenever I saw like Mark or the other Mark who was on bass, or we were always talking about, should we, are we doing it again? Should we do it again? And it's just been a recurrent thing.
Had you done any other kind of like musical projects outside of Malediction in the meantime? Like maybe not like extreme metal, death metal. Maybe you were grown out of death metal a wee bit, and you maybe play something later, or was it just circumstances?
I mean, more recently, I've been in a few bands. I was in Godthrim, the doom metal band, and I was in Hellbastard for a bit.
Yes. And
I was in Monstrance with Carlo, who used to be in Carcass, but that sort of, again, just kind of fizzled out, didn't really sort of work out. So lots of sort of things that looked exciting, but just didn't really deliver in the end.
Yeah. So whose idea was it first?
Was it anybody's idea? Was it really?
Mark was always pestering me about it.
Yeah, I think it was one of those where we were always keen to kick-start it back again. And I think, we had a few kind of aborted attempts. I think we released a promo demo 2000? Type thing back in, was it 2000, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we shopped that around for a bit. But again, I don't think MD's heart was truly in it, to be honest. And we really had to wait until Shaun kind of came back to the UK before we could really kind of pull the trigger, and really kind of do it. Shaun had left the UK shores, had created a life in America, and we were, I think, by about 2016, we were probably thinking, can we do this by, utilizing kind of technology and have Shaun still be in the band, but be in America. And then Shaun was starting to indicate that he might be able to come back to the UK, and I think that was the catalyst for it all.
I think initially we were talking about potentially me using a studio over there, so basically getting the all the tracking done for guitars and drums, and then me doing a studio gig over there. I ended up finding out that I lived near a studio. Rich, I told you who owned it. I can't remember who it was.
You were near Eric Rutan's studio, weren't you?
Wow. Yeah, and that never worked out. I never got in contact with him, never got anything scheduled, and then life changed around. I got work back over here, and moved back, and that's a story in itself. But I was in the States for like 20 years. All
right. Well, to be honest with you, it's all your fault, Shaun, because if you stayed over here for 20 years, you could be touring the world just now.
I know. Yeah. My fault the Malediction are back together again, though, as well, right? So
I'm just wondering if it was like Rich. He was like, the older he gets, the more like Victor Meldrew he gets, the anger's back in him again. But I say it often enough on the radio, like once you play death metal, it's always in your veins. I mean, you look at Catatonia, they just left death metal earlier on in their career, but they just couldn't let it lie, and they formed Bloodbath. It's just, once you play death metal, you've always got it in you.
Yeah, I mean, I think like in '96, we were kind of moving away, like the album we did, we were moving quite a long way away from sort of pure death metal. And I think if we had continued, we would have gone somewhere else. But
I've said that to you privately, Rich. I've said that like this is two completely different bands. I feel like this is Malediction Chapter 2.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think it's Malediction how we probably always hoped it would be.
Yeah. Well, I'll be completely honest. Way back in the early 90s, I obviously was aware of Malediction, but I was more into like the slow to the mid-pace death metal, like the Obituaries, Autopsies, the Bolt Throwers and stuff like that. So when they had your grind, it was like, yeah, it's okay, but but this EP, I'm like, how you doing? But we're going to talk about the EP in a wee minute. But how easy or how hard is it to try and get the name of Malediction back out there again? I mean, with the use of like social media, it's so important, but as well, you've all got your day jobs. It's so time consuming.
Yeah, very much.
I mean, I think the thing with the social media side of it is kind of just done its own thing. It's put we started on Facebook, and that's just grown in numbers to it's quite a significant following on there, despite the fact we haven't really done anything.
Yeah.
And then the other Twitter and Insta and stuff have kind of followed that. I mean, it's just been organic. It hasn't really been we haven't thrown any money at it. It's just grown.
Yeah.
And hopefully when we actually do something i.e. this EP, there'll be some sort of captive audience. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm quite skeptical about what it means, the numbers on socials, to be honest with you. I'm not sure how many of those people actually translate to people who buy your stuff.
Absolutely.
It's interesting you say that, because I'm just about to raise the point, the power of social media. Like you put up a post about the Dead or Winterfest that's happening up here in Glasgow at the end of January, Ivy Blacks. Thanks very much to Quando Brain Bath for that. But somebody put a picture of a cassette the last time we played Glasgow venue in 1993.
That was Mark.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I didn't even know we had a copy of that.
So,
that's not to listen to it as well, probably.
Wow. I don't think I've heard that.
No, I don't think so either, Mike.
Is that the live set?
Yeah.
I think it was 93, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sounds right.
Because it was the Edinburgh venue we played.
That's right.
We've never played Glasgow.
No.
Yeah. Well, that'll be changing soon. But we're going to talk about gigs later on in the interview. But although this is your first EP since Dark, see, this is what you guys do. Dark Effluvium in 1993. Then were the thoughts of it always going to be an EP, or did you think that there was a possibility you've got enough back catalogue to do the album? I mean, you talked about an album in '96. Is that pretty much discarded now, or did you use material from that for this?
There is one song on the EP which is from the album. Skyrim Rapture was originally the opening track of the '96 album, and so when we started rehearsing back at the very beginning of 2022, we were playing it, and I was saying to Mark, this sounds really cool now, because we'd sort of tweaked the arrangement a little bit, and it just seemed to fit really well with the new stuff as well. So it seemed really logical to do that.
Yeah.
And obviously some of the other songs on the EP are old songs as well. I mean, Infestation is literally from 1989.
Wow.
And Pernicious Zealotry is a re-recording of a track which was called Waste on the System Fear EP from 1990. So it was kind of like it's kind of like a relaunch of the band. We wanted to redo Infestation, but not on an album. So it just seemed logical to just sort of have a couple of new tracks to show what we're capable of.
Yeah,
and then wrap up some old stuff, put it out as like, well, this is us, this is what we sound like in 2023 sort of thing.
Because I was thinking, you've had 23 years to write an album worth of for 8 songs. I was like, are you incredibly slow songwriters or something? Or?
Yeah,
yes,
very much.
You've got no idea. You've got no idea.
It's the vocalist, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's all his fault.
I think we definitely had enough material to do an album straight away, but I think we wanted to rearrange stuff and also try to push new stuff. We probably kind of bored of hearing some of the old stuff, and this probably doesn't exactly fit our style now, so it would all need reworking anyway.
I think originally the idea was to just do a couple of new tracks and put them out there.
Yeah, like a demo.
Just like a demo. And then, like everything else, you know, the idea grew arms and legs, and you know, before we knew it, you know, we were planning on doing 6 tracks, and it was very much, you know, right, okay, can we do this as an EP, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, you know, kind of launch some new material, but also pay homage to the older stuff, because Rich was saying, you know, when we were kind of getting together in rehearsal, you know, the older tracks started to sound really good, you know, like Pernicious, which is a reworking of Waste. You know, because we had John Rushforth on drums. Wow, you know, it just added this dimension, you know, and it was tremendous. You know, we just couldn't wait just to, you know, we just wanted to record as much as possible, to be honest, you know, without actually doing an album, you know. So,
and I think with the likes of Infestation, we never really did a version we were happy with anyway.
Yeah.
So it made sense to go back to some of that old stuff and just do it one final bit of justice, you know.
Yeah. It's a discussion I have in a lot of my interviews, like the older members, shall I say, they like doing it the old school way, where it's album, couple of years, album, couple of years, album, whereas the younger generation of bands, they like doing single, couple of months, single, couple of months, single. So it's nice to hear that the EP is a couple of new songs, but we're not going to have to wait too long before your next major release.
Hopefully.
Sure.
Well, don't make another 23 years. I'll probably be deaf by then.
we will have an album ready for release in 2024.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, is it just riffs and ideas just now, or do you have 1 or 2 songs complete?
There's obviously the songs that we want to revisit that people may or may not have heard, that we're probably going to restructure some of them, because, you know, our tastes have changed over the years and we want to sort of bring them up to date. And there'll be some brand new ones as well. So I think, you know, we've got an embarrassment of material really we can go back on. Obviously, it's a question about how much, you know, what the ratio of new to old.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep referring to Morbid Angel because we accidentally end up in the same sort of situation that they had with an unreleased album, and then they released albums and they were revisiting some of their back catalogue. It's kind of, not that I'm comparing us to Morbid Angel, obviously, but, you know,
you're bigger than them. Don't worry about it. You're bigger than them.
It's a good band to ape, in my opinion.
Yeah. You're definitely very heavily influenced by Morbid Angel. That's clear. But was it also? I hate talking about it because it's in the past now. But there's still a lot of after effects with it. With COVID, when you couldn't leave the house. Rich, were you picking up your guitar? Mark, were you picking up the guitar and writing again? And Shaun, I don't know whether you practice your singing, whether you were like singing in the shower or something like that.
No, not really. Not for me. COVID was an interesting time for what I was doing, because I actually had more work during COVID than most people. So I was full on in with that stuff, really.
Yeah, cool. So what about yourselves, Rich and Mark? Is that where a lot of songwriting was done? Or were you actually sick of the guitar and you just put it aside?
I mean, I wrote Omerta in a week in 2021. I think in the summer of 2021, I wrote that in a week. You know, I had like terrible writer's block, which I'd had for years. You know, I had lots of riffs and then like 2 or 3 riffs that go together, but I was not able to finish a song. So I was just like, right, in a week, I just want to, like, from scratch, write a song. And it ended up being that. I mean, I wrote the basics of it, but then obviously then you iterate and hone it, and it ended up quite different. And Black Narcissus, I'd had the riffs for that for many years and not been able to finish. And I did like again during COVID, did a version of that and sent it to the guys, and they loved it. And I was just like, I'm not happy with this, so I just went back and again and reworked.
What would you have done if Mark turned around and said, "No, it's a shit riff"?
Well, I would listen to it, of course.
I don't think I've ever said that.
Mark, is Rich the type of guy that would send you a riff at 4 o'clock in the morning? This is my best riff yet, by the way.
No. He's. I mean, I think we're very. We're very considered in kind of what we do. You know, we don't kind of bleed kind of guitar riffs. You know, I think we churn one out maybe once a millennium, something like that. You know, it's You know, we're very kind of conservative with our material, to be honest. You know, we just take our time over it. You know, in fact, I mean, I think I started writing a song during kind of COVID, which still hasn't been finished yet, you know, and it might never be finished. You know, it's just one of those, you know, it's just one of those painful, you know, painful, enduring processes. You know, it's and Rich thankfully has managed to like crank a few out, you know, whereas I'm kind of struggling just now, you know. So, but we'll get there.
Yeah, and I think for me on the vocal thing, I didn't do any vocals since whenever we sort of put everything to rest until when we started rehearsing, right? Last January last year. So there's a good 20 some years of not ever doing any vocals at all. So it was kind of an interesting trial to see if I could still do it when I got back to meeting with the guys. It worked out.
Well, I know I've only got you for not much longer, so I'll come back to the EP, but I do have a couple of questions for you, Shaun. With you being the vocalist of the band, then do you write all the lyrics, or do you welcome contributions from all the band?
Absolutely. When our old bassist Mark was in the band, he's just a natural writer. So he used to write a lot of them. I've written some of them. I wrote Scatterwritten Rapture, for example, and I'm hoping to contribute quite a lot more in the future. But I have done some. I think it's kind of like the guys are saying with them taking for a long time to write riffs. It takes me a long time to come up with anything vocally that I'm happy with. But I have done some. But it's very much a collaborative effort.
How do you do it? Like when I spoke to Quando from Brainbath, he says he's got 15 songs already written, lyrics written. Do you wait until you hear the music first before you do the lyrics, or what?
A little bit of that. I think it starts more with like an idea of, you know, our songs always have some sort of, it sounds cheesy, but some sort of message, right? So we have a very specific subject. You know, we don't write about the devil and all his little minions. You know, we try to write about something that means something to us. So we tend to have all those ideas. I've got 5 or 6 ideas that I've got little notes written down for, but not much further than that. So quite often we'll write a bunch of lyrics and then we find out we either have to trim them down or we have to maybe even add to them sometimes. You know, so that's it. It's a very organic process. Honestly, the whole of Malediction songwriting process is very, very organic.
Yeah, sure. So you're the type of vocalist that you've always got a wee small pad and a pen on you, and you see something in the street, you take a note of it, or do you read a lot of books, or do you watch a lot of documentaries?
I watch a lot of documentaries, a ton, and no notepad and paper. Unfortunately, it's all digital these days. But yeah, a lot of stuff comes from documentaries. A lot of stuff comes from just, you know, I had a lot of inspiration when I was living in the States with, you know, the whole Trump thing and the gun violence and everything. Like it's easy to write songs over there because there's so much like horrendous stuff goes on around you that people brag about, and it's target rich environment, honestly. Yeah.
Well, I know you're not in your 20s anymore, but one of the things I was impressed with in the EP was your vocals.
Okay.
It just reminded me of how vocals sounded back 30 years ago.
Right.
At times I was thinking of like early Anathema and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I thought your vocals were really cool. But how easy or difficult was it for you to get your vocals back and doing the growling after all these years? Does it take a lot of practice, or is it just?
No, surprisingly enough, I can clearly remember the first rehearsal when, maybe it wasn't the first rehearsal, but it was the first one when I did any vocals. And I can remember Rich just saying to me, "You just sound like exactly like you used to," which was, I think, a compliment. I hope so. It seemed to come back pretty quickly. I think just getting to do the variation of vocals took a little bit of time, like to do some of the more screamy stuff, the high-pitched stuff. And again, when we were recording, Rich actually said he thought he noticed that my vocals had got deeper, which I hadn't even realized. I don't know if that's an age thing, perhaps it's helped. But I think
your voice finally broke.
Yeah, probably, right. We maybe it's all the beer. We did a lot of experimentation recording the EP. Actually, just, you know, we recorded the vocals at Richard's house in his studio, and we just spent our time, like, it just took as long time as it needed, really, just experimenting. Does this work? Does this not work? And I think we came out with something that people seem to like, which is nice.
Yeah. Are you quite a selfish vocalist? I mean, you want to do all the vocals, or would you like? There's some things in a band that I love, and it's having more than one vocalist. I think it adds so much diversity to a song, and it's so eye-appealing when it's live. Is it just that these guys can't sing?
I think I am probably quite selfish, but you know, I think we've got a new bassist. I'm sure we're going to talk about that soon. And I know he's done vocals in his old band, so I think we're definitely going to at some point try to figure out how we can mix some of that stuff in as well.
Yeah. Well, cool. I'm very much looking forward to hearing it. But yeah, so that's all the questions I was going to ask you, Shaun, just in case you do need to, you do need to leave us. But the EP, going back to the EP then, it's called The Soil Throne. Why did you call it that? And how did you get that title? Did you have a list of titles and that's the one you chose on? Or did somebody just say it and go, that's the one?
That was Richard.
I just, it was a title I had. I mean, I tend to come up with a title and then I'll often write music to a title. And then I'll say, even if I don't write the lyrics, I'll say to somebody, well, this is what the song's about. It's called this. Can you go and write the lyrics? Which Mark Fox used to do. It was just a title. I think it's a misheard lyric from Warrell Dane's first solo album. I think there's a song called Messenger, and it talks about sitting on your soiled throne, I think, and it just kind of stuck with me. And I'm a big fan of Warrell Dane, and that was just the back of my mind for a long time, and it just seemed to be appropriate. And so I hastily sort of retroactively added it to the lyrics for a Masquerade because it seemed to be more relevant to that song. So yeah.
Well, can I just say thanks very much, Rich, for sending me the EP. I do have 3 songs. I can't differentiate between them, but my favourites are like in Maledictus Soul, basically because there's no vocals in it. No, there is one.
I'll take it. And I didn't record that. That ground was added in post-production.
But I also liked Black Narcissus, which I've told you about, Rich. But I liked the Omerta Masquerade because when I heard that at first, especially in the opening riffs, I was thinking that's like early Brutality, and it's also like Morbid Angel Rapture, you know. So I really like that song.
It's a sort of homage to Morbid Angel, really. And I mean, I think the intro happened by accident because I'd written the riff and I was just messing around with like some MIDI drum software I have, because I didn't plan to have like an intro like that, and then it just came. I was like previewing the various grooves that you can do on there. Yeah. And like that sort of carpet roll thing came on, and I was just like, gee, well, we've got to do that, and it makes me think of sort of like, there's a Dying Fetus song it really made me think of called One Shot, One Kill.
Brilliant song, what tune? But
Dan Mullins, who co-produced it with me and mixed it, he said it reminded him of a band called Panzerchrist, who I'd never heard of. And, they're from Austria or Switzerland.
I'm not exactly. I think they are actually, but I don't know much of the stuff, but I've certainly heard the name. It's a name that stands.
It's one of those sort of halftime, double bass going halftime on the sort of snare, and it just got that coasting, almost bolt thrower sort of energy, isn't it? I think
Danish they are, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I definitely liked it. But Mark, you're more the rhythm guitarist, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because I've been saying to Rich, like, I'll be watching him like a hawk when he tries and plays these solos live.
We all will.
We all will, exactly.
You'll all be turning around saying, right, go. Cool. But even though 4 out of the 5 members of Malediction are the original members, and with this being the debut release for Malediction, let's say Chapter 2, for those that are new to the band then, how would you say the new Malediction compares to that of the early 90s? And do you think you've found the sound that you've been looking for?
2 of us are original members.
Yeah.
Now, you see, I knew that. I read your EPK, and it said 4 out of the 5 original members reformed.
It was, wasn't it? It was the 3 of us. I mean, Mark came in after. Mark replaced Darren. Darren was the original rhythm guitar player, lead player, and Mark Fox was on bass. And Mark was back for this, and we rehearsed with Mark, and he just couldn't commit. I think
you've got another
the amount of work that was required. So
it really is.
Yeah. So what about the sound then? How would you say it compares to the early 90s? And do you think you found the sound you've been looking for? Let's go with Mark.
That's Mark, yeah.
Then I'll ask Rich next.
Yeah, I mean, I think our sound has kind of progressed. We, like you said, Ricky, we've got that kind of early, kind of grind kind of sound, from the first couple of EPs. And then we kind of moved on, probably, what would you say, Rich? Probably for the promo demo 92, which was more kind of almost an NY style, you know, kind of really full on, you know, and it was different again, you know, it was really kind of brutal, kind of death metal, and we kind of left the kind of grind parts,
yeah,
you know, kind of behind, and then we had another kind of, you know, kind of level where we were we brought more kind of, you know, kind of Swedish, kind of Gothenburg style kind of riffing into it, and then we kind of, by the time the album came round in 95, 96, you know, we were branching out into all these kind of progressive kind of ideas, you know, and I think if anybody listened to the, you know, the debut album, and we are planning on kind of releasing it at some point, you know, I think some people will be quite surprised.
Yeah, definitely.
You're not singing about knights and swords and dragons or anything like that when you mentioned progressive.
Not quite, but yeah, no, there's some really kind of really bizarre ideas on there, you know. It's like
lots of keyboards.
Yeah, there's like kind of, you know, there's a bit trip hop on there as well, isn't there? You know, yeah, and there's, you know, a full-on kind of doom track, which is, you know, Rich wrote it, and I just love it. You know, it's full-on kind of like death metal Candlemas. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
You know,
it's also 10 minutes long.
Yes, near enough. There's a few 10-minute tracks on there, just about, isn't there? There's a few epics, you know.
Yeah. Well, maybe it deserves to be heard. Maybe it does deserve to be released, but in some shape or format. Because I noticed that, like, you wouldn't do anything for 10 years, and then there's some record label that reissues, like, a demo or an EP or something like that. It's just absolutely incredible now. But Rich, what do you think about the sound?
I think, you know, with having John, you know, I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing that's made the biggest difference. Having a drummer like John in the band. I mean, when I met John, and because we were playing in Hellbastard together, and the first thing he said was, "You were in Malediction, weren't you?" I was like, "Yeah." And he says, "Oh, I really like that band, and if you do any more music, I want to drum for you." So I mean, because we planned to just do like a studio project, and we were going to like pay some dude, you know, on YouTube or somebody to just record drums and just do a studio thing.
Yeah.
And then John just changed that because there's somebody here who wants to actually be part of it, likes the music, and, you know, wants to do the whole thing. So that just completely changed the plan.
I hope you still made him audition twice though.
I mean, he's, you know, I can't fault him. I can't fault his drumming. I mean, it's, you know, it's ridiculous, really.
He's phenomenal. He must be one of the, you know, he's up there, isn't he? He must be one of the best drummers. And,
yeah, you know, he's a great drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say, like,
you know,
sorry, carry on, Rich.
I was going to say, it's just like it's like, I think you know, that's why we went, oh, well, let's redo some old songs, because, you know, they're going to change, they're going to sound really different with this sort of drumming on it. So, but I mean, I think we've kind of because we're always reluctant about sort of accepting the label of being a death metal band. I think, you know, we were like, oh, well, you know, we're sort of technical grindcore, so we'd always kind of avoid saying it. But I think now I've just fully embraced that we're a death metal band. And so I think we've kind of sort of pulled back a little bit from the sort of political stuff that we used to do, and it's more like, but, you know, not wholly, more traditionally death metal, I think.
Totally agree. But yeah, I think we've kind of touched on this quite a lot, but with the songs from the EP, no, we have kind of touched it, because I was going to ask, like, is it all brand new material, or did you use any ideas from back in the day that you've not brought to the surface? But
yeah,
we kind of answered that.
Yeah.
When constructing your new material, then, and everybody's got their own personal taste in music, how do you negotiate what stays in and what goes out of a song? Like, is there any fights in the studio, any blood on the walls or anything like that, or is it quite a easy process?
I remember back in the day it being difficult, especially when Darren was in the band, when Darren was the other guitar player, because like, Infestation on the EP is much more like what it was intended to be originally, and like we had made some changes as sort of token responses to what Darren wanted. And so, now I was like, well, I don't want to do those because I don't like them. So there was a lot of compromise then. But I think once Mark joined, I don't remember any arguments about riffs or material. I mean, you bring your song. I mean, the way we don't write together in the studio. We bring stuff in, and you'd like present your song, and straight away you'd find out some stuff wouldn't work, so you just remove that. But I don't remember any disagreements about riffs or lyrics.
It was always a constructive environment, wasn't it? And I think we were always kind of lucky enough to say, right, okay, I always trusted Rich's opinion, and I'd like to think he trusted mine's as well. And I think we used to kind of bring songs that were almost there, and they just needed maybe a bit of kind of fine tuning and a little bit of tweaking.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as if we were coming in with a riff and then having to build something. It was something we'd usually kind of bring a song and then we would just hone it, and that would be us. We would pretty much have a clear idea in mind about what we're wanting to do, and then we bring it in, just polish the edges, and that would be us pretty much. And I think that was the kind of process we'd kind of work to, and it worked pretty well for us, and I think we're still doing that just now, really.
Yeah.
I can't believe there's not a Huffy one in the band at all, even when we're all in our low 50s. I'm nearly there. I'm 50 this year, but anyway. I've got 3 minutes left of this, and then we'll have to come back on. And I know that you're busy, Shaun, in a few minutes, but normally at the end, we've got more questions, but normally at the end, I always ask the guys what instruments they use for the recording. So with you being the vocalist then, did you go through a range of microphones before you picked on one because you like the sound of it, or you just give me an SM57 and I'll fucking sing into it?
Literally that. It's the studio mic of choice. But Rich, when we recorded at Rich's house, we have a different setup, right, Rich? What was it you used?
It was a Shure SM7B on the vocal.
Yeah, that's right. So we recorded with that, but that's not what we use in studio. In rehearsals or anything. But yeah, it's great mic. It does what it says on the tin. It works really well.
I mean, he recorded the vocals. Where is it?
Right behind you. Yeah, right behind you. Where the door is at the back. Yeah.
That's cool. It's so easy now, isn't it? Compared to back in the day. I mean, there's so many one-man projects and stuff.
It's wonderful.
I play things like Gateway from Belgium, and it's just one man. You cannot believe it's just one band.
Right, I think what it did for us was, it gave us the ability, like I said earlier, to kind of experiment with the lyrics and the vocals a little bit, because I hadn't done much of that stuff for a long time. And, typically in a studio, vocals don't last, and you might get a day to do the whole thing. We took 2 or 3 sessions at Richard's house, and we just did it. It took as long as we needed. And it's the luxury of not having to pay studio time.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you being unfairly pushed by Richard? By Rich? You were like, my throat's bloody killing me. But he was like, no, I want more.
A little bit of that. But it was mostly with a couple more growls, couple more, death grunts, right, and whatever. And we did a lot of, I think we quad tracked some of the vocals, right?
Yeah, we did. We did too. We did the whole thing through twice, and then there were additional, we did the sort of Glenn Benton.
I was going to ask about the effects.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff.
Everything was doubled, basically. Everything you hear was doubled.
Yeah. And then a lot of that stuff came definitely from, I had ideas of where I wanted some of that stuff, but Rich, has great ideas as well. So while we were doing the pass through, he'd be like, oh, let's go back and do something else there. And again, super collaborative. I think that's probably the most collaborative that I've known a vocal recording be. And a big part of that was just, we were sort of left to our own devices. I think that's the key to it.
Yeah, cool. Well, I've only got a minute left, but I just have to reiterate that in Maledictus Soul, even though there was just one growl in it, it was perfectly timed, perfectly sounded. So
that was Dan Mullins, so blame Dan for that.
But the rest of the songs, you've got to try better.
Okay, I will try harder. Let's try harder.
But thank you very much for your time, Shaun. And if you two guys are okay, if you want to go for a wee toilet break or something like that, I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
All right then.
All right, see you soon. Cheers, Shaun.
All right, cheers, Shaun.
All right, thanks very much for that, guys. I'm very much looking forward to the EP. When's it coming out again?
November, I think.
November. Excellent, excellent. So I'd imagine then, let's talk about the visual side of the EP for a second. In a couple of ways, have you thought about doing a video release for any songs in the EP, like even a lyric video, or is that something that it's a financial aspect, or is it something that's in the background?
I was like, we need to do a video. We need to do a video for Black Narcissus, and then there was this conversation expands, and we've got like a WhatsApp chat for the band, and it was like, oh, I don't like videos that are just band performances, and it's just, so I was just like, we're good. There's a guy in Bradford at Voltage Studios. He did the Godthram video, and I was in them. So like 300 quid, turn up in a day, boom, you'll have a video, and so it just ended up like, well, I don't even know. Are we doing one? Mark, do you know if we're doing a video?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We need to do something. It's one of those where, you know, we float an idea, and then, you know, it grew arms and legs. You know, I think it got crazy at one point, didn't it? You know, we had some kind of horror producer getting involved. He was going to, yeah, you've got no idea, Ricky. It was hilarious. You know, it was just like, right, hold on a second. This was supposed to be, you know, a 4-minute performance video, quick and dirty, no mess, no fuss, and it was going to turn into some kind of, you know, vintage hammer horror kind of film. You know, it was nuts. But it was fun discussing it. Sorting all out, but it just meant we just didn't get any further forward. But no, it's something we need to sort. You know, it's just one of those. How we're going to do it will coincide it with the release of the EP. Hopefully, have something out maybe just before then. You know, hopefully around about, you know, September, October time if EP comes out in November. So we've got a bit of time to sort that.
I think that's what kind of myself and Rich were talking about while we were off air. I mean, if Malediction are coming back properly, I think it's something that you're going to have to do, and just you're going to have to spread. You're basically going to have to hoard the name of Malediction out to get noticed, because there's 1,000,001 bands. Like we said earlier, you can do everything in your bedroom now. So Malediction just needs to keep the name out there.
Yeah, I mean, the visual side of things is really important. It always has been, and we found a good cover artist who's done the art for the EP, and I can't remember.
I was about to ask that for my next question anyway, so I'll give you a couple of seconds to look it up. Right?
I think he's from Germany. He's called Daniel. So I'm just scrolling through WhatsApp trying to find.
Well, I tell you what, while you're looking that up, then when you were thinking of a cover for the EP, did you give the artist like the whole of the EP and just let them have free reign, or did you say, this is what's in my head, can you depict that, or how did you get the album cover, the EP cover?
I mean, I know that Shaun, because Shaun is a sort of is an artist. He is a CG artist, so he just offloaded it on him. But there was a brief. But he just looked at artists, and he said to me, what this guy, what do you think, blah blah blah, sort of thing. And then once we found this guy, Daniel Bektoff.
I'm glad you said that.
We had the brief, a particular brief, which he has delivered, but you know, it's one of those things, you give an artist a brief and they deliver something that's different from what you imagine. So, but it totally ties in with the title, The Soil Throne.
Was it back and forth, or did you pretty much get it on the first take?
I mean, Shaun was coming back to me a lot, and I said to Shaun, just, you know, you got this, you know, just you because he's used to directing people artistically, you know, to deliver what he wants. So, you know, I think it was ridiculous for me to try and do that. So yeah, I mean, but it's probably not what I would have imagined. But you know, I think that's the beauty of it, isn't it? That's why you pay somebody to do something, that they do something you couldn't sort of foresee. Yeah.
Excellent.
So it's probably the most traditional image, maybe.
It's very death metal, isn't it? You know, it's you know, we spoke about moving away from, you know, our kind of political angle to a more kind of, you know, solid kind of death metal kind of direction, and I think that artwork, you know, it certainly captures it. You know, it's it's very death metal, you know, and it kind of captures it, the kind of new Malediction, if you like. You know, it's I think it's great. I think it looks really good, you know, because we had a kind of placeholder AI kind of thing. It was going to potentially be, I mean, we might do something with that because I love that as well, you know, but you know, you could almost tell it was kind of AI, and we wanted something more kind of hand drawn, more kind of traditional, more kind of you know, dancey rave type thing, you know, and you know, I think the artist has kind of captured that. It looks really good.
Yeah, there's a couple of band chats that I'm in and see when they say AI, they just go, no.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to Dave Rotten, who did the 10-inch last year, you know, the framework 10-inch, because at one point we were talking about maybe him putting this out, and I showed him that, and he just went, "That's AI art," and he said, "Well, if you do that, you'll get crucified." So I was like, right, well, we won't be doing that then.
No, and again, you know, it's just that advice that you take on board, you know, and you kind of think, right, okay, well, it looks, you know, and it looked great, you know, but it's got that look, hasn't it? It's just got that kind of look. It's just too kind of pristine almost, you know. It's you know, and you know, it's there's a bit of backlash, you know, towards it, you know. So we want to avoid that, you know. So I think we've gone in the right direction by getting somebody to the actual kind of manual version, if you like, you know. But yeah, no, I'm really happy with it. Looks good.
Yeah, you don't want to give people reasons not to like your band, do you? Really, ideally, I think. You just have not to do that, you know.
Yeah. So the Soil Throne. Well, I think you kind of said earlier on it was Dan Mullins that mixed and mastered it for you. I mean, he's in a shitload of bands as well, and he's also done a shitload of stuff like this. My Dying Bride, and I think he done a Live Burial as well. Who, they've unfortunately called it a day, haven't they?
Yes, unfortunately, yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. So how was it working with Dan? Was it an easy process? Did he come back saying, no, you need to change this or add things to it, or was it easy?
Dan was just a dream, really, to be honest with you. I mean, again, talking about Godthram, he did that the Godthram EP that came out on Cosmic Key Creations, and that was the first time I'd worked with him. And of course, they all knew him because they were all ex-MDB pretty much, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I messaged him and said, "Oh, do you fancy doing this?" And he's like, "Yeah." Yeah, because obviously his band Blaspheme are a death metal band. But Dan was just great to work with, just great, and just totally got, you know, you didn't need to say stuff to him because he just knew, you know, and we were completely on the same page as far as the sort of technicalities of recording were concerned, like, you know, guitar sounds, bass sounds. He was like, yeah, that's how I do it, sort of thing. So, and he made some great suggestions, and I think he added a bit of grit to it, perhaps, that wasn't there from what I recorded. And he just said, my approach to this is it's going to sound old school.
Yeah,
which was fine. I mean, sorry, go on.
There's a lot that stands out in the sound. The snare sound, for one. The vocals of Shaun. The guitars is a great sound, but see, when you do the leads, it's just, it elevates that a wee bit more, and it's like, oh, how you doing? And you can even hear the bass. I mean, in a death metal record, that's not supposed to happen. You've ruined death metal.
On the pre-mastered version, the bass is even louder. Like on Black Narcissus, you can hear all these sort of bing, you know, these
twangs, doesn't it? It really snaps.
But when he mastered it, it kind of pulled it back a bit. But I mean, the bass, you know, that was, obviously we wanted to hear the bass.
Was the bassist pissed off because his sound was reduced?
Well, I played the bass on it.
All right.
On the EP.
All right.
So yeah.
Cool.
So, but it wouldn't matter. Whoever played the bass, I would want to hear it. So, you know.
Yeah, cool. I remember back in the old days of the Maury sound, you just, Obituary Cause of Death is my favourite death metal album of all time, and you don't hear the bass.
Yeah.
But brilliant. Thank you for that. But now that the world is open its doors to playing live again, do you see Malediction being a touring band, or is this simply going to be a recording project, or are you going to do like gigs here and there? What do you think? If the offers come in.
You want to go on?
Well, you know, I think given the fact, you know, we're all pretty busy, aren't we? You know, and we've all got day jobs and stuff. You know, it kind of limits us in a way, but you know, I think we're keen to get out there and do as much as we possibly can. You know, I think, you know, our first gig is going to be the Glasgow one potentially, by the looks of it. We've had another few offers that, may or may not happen. So we're just going to have to wait and see. It's really excited to get back and do it again. I never thought we'd ever. I thought we'd probably be maybe a recording kind of project only. But again, with just having somebody like John, as a drummer, I think that was key. Just having somebody really capable, really phenomenal, and I think it became quite clear as soon as we started to kind of rehearse. It started to come together. And we just knew it was we've got to take this out there. No,
really, like I said, the songs in the EP definitely deserve to be performed live. And now that I don't know whether the drummer just gave you the final kick up the backside saying, yes, let's just go ahead and do this. I don't know whether things were getting a wee bit stale or anything like that, but then John came in and it kicked you all up the backside saying this could happen again.
I mean, it's like I was saying to you before. I mean, it was a kind of anti-nostalgia, though. It was, for me anyway. I think me and Mark disagree about this a little bit, but for me, it was like, to do the thing in a way now that is better than what we did. I mean, as far as I was concerned, is that if it wasn't better than what we did before, then it wasn't going to come out. So that was the aim, and John was a huge part of that, obviously, because he plays like he does.
Well, I'm certainly glad that you're putting it out there, and you've already got plans for 2024.
The stuff we want to do, for sure.
But yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that because we obviously, Rich, we share a mutual friend and guest co-host of Moshville Radio, Quando of Brainbath. He's done a few shows with me now.
Yeah.
He brings disgust and filth, but he thinks he outdoes me. He doesn't. But anyway, but as we've said, he organised a festival in Glasgow called the Dead of Winter Fest. I think it's the 27th of July, 27th of January even. Ivory Blacks. Ivory Blacks is a brilliant venue. You'll love playing there. It's a 300 capacity, brilliant merch area, brilliant stage, green room, everything, and it's central as well, so it's easy to get to.
Yeah.
But how excited are you to play the gig as well as coming back to Scotland?
Yeah, I'm really excited to do it, to be honest with you. Yeah. I mean, I'm a weird Englishman because I love Scotland.
When was the last time you actually stood on a stage?
Well, me in 2018 when I played with Rick's band, I filled it up for bass a couple of times for them. But Mark, how long is it for you?
It's a London festival. Was it 95 maybe? 95. Yeah, we played at a London festival with a whole load of, a Hibernoid played.
Yeah, I remember them. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just a kind of wave of kind of, it was almost a new wave of British black metal, so it was always amusing, when you're going to the loo and jostling past guys putting their corpse paint.
I've saw the Danny Filth. I've seen Danny Filth do that, by the way.
Oh man, yeah. Well, it's got to be done, So it's it was a bit of an eye opener, I must admit.
Which show was that, Mark?
Oh, Shaun,
I'm back. Which show was that?
The London show, but the fateful.
Oh, the awful one.
The last gig we played.
The one I don't remember anything about.
Blocked it from your memory.
Were you under the influence, Shaun?
Never, ever. It's never been known.
But how do you think you'll feel? Like, I know how well Dead of Winterfest is doing tickets wise, so I know how many people are going to be there just now. Never mind closer to the date. How are you going to feel standing up in front of all these people again? Do you have like a routine before you go on stage, or is it just?
It used to be 5 or 6 bottles in Newcastle Brown. That's not going to happen this time. I don't know. I'm shitting myself, I think. But I think I don't know. I guess like age has helped a lot. I'm not particularly nervous about that stuff. I'm not probably as self-conscious as I was back then. So I'm kind of excited about it. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. We used to be totally cavalier about it. We're just like, whatever, It was, and like now I'm like, how can we do that? That's terrible. Why do we do that stuff? So
Yeah,
I think the key we need to be really well prepared for it. I mean, and we will be.
we will be, and I think we want to be professional, as professional as these type of bands ever are. We want to do something that we're proud of, and hopefully everybody else likes as well.
Yeah,
certainly not proud of a lot of our old stuff.
Well, we've said that the EP is coming out towards the end of the year, and you've got Dead of Winterfest in January of next year. Have you thought about a local EP release show?
No,
we've not talked about it.
No, we've not. No.
I just wondered if you had something local to just get that feeling again.
I know there was talk about us playing something. We're based in Hull. I don't know if you guys have mentioned that. And there was talk about potentially doing something late in the year there, just a small scale kind of thing. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. It's a good enough idea.
There was also talk about a Huddersfield gig as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Dan was talking about something in Huddersfield.
There's stuff in the pipeline, but it's just a matter of just making sure everybody's diaries are. I think that's a big
diaries
one
are
for
a nightmare. The diaries are a nightmare. We're all over the place, and we're all grown up and responsible-ish.
What I find kind of funny is that the vocalist just can't stay away. I mean, you had a class to go to, and you've cut that short because you're a vocalist and you like talking about yourself.
Yeah. Actually, no. My students at ACE, they just aced it, and they said, "Oh, we're done. Okay, fine. I'll go back."
But talking about the gig then, I'd imagine you're playing maybe like a 30-40 minute set. I'm going to ask each and every one of you the same question. Is there one song in particular that you're looking forward to playing? So, Rich, you can start first. What would be your song in the set list? You've got 8 songs or whatever like that. I can't wait till we play the 5th song.
I'm really, really excited to play Black Narcissus. But also, like, one of my favourites is Mark's song, Ruinous Opiate. I love playing that. So those two, really.
Cool. Thank you for that. What about you, Marky Boy?
Black Narcissus for me. It's probably the best song we've ever done. It just sounds amazing. It sounds really good in rehearsal as well now. It's really starting to come together. It's just one of those tracks. It's just, absolutely buzzing. I just can't wait to play it. And I'm kind of hoping we might open with it as well. Would you reckon, Rich?
Ooh.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, fair comment. See, when Rich sent me the EP and I listened to it the first time, the first thing I said to him was, I need to play Black Narcissus live. So that's the track that stood out for me as well in the first listen. Yeah. So I can't argue with that. But Shaun, what about you? Is it going to be in Maledictus Soul?
Sure. So I'm going to say and have my 5 brown ales, right?
It's a break.
Yeah, no, I'm the same as Rich, actually. Black Narcissus, only because, we've never played it live, and it's an absolute pleasure to sing. And then I love Ruinous as well.
Yeah, cool. Believe it or not, we've already got the other 10-minute warning, but listen, I've only got like 3 questions left, and then we can just talk nonsense at the end of it. So I'm more than happy to come back on again.
Sure.
But is there anything about the way that you've recorded the EP that you would do differently going forward to your next release?
Yeah, I mean, I learned because I'd never recorded us before. I'd never produced something or co-produced it in this case. So, but I knew a lot about it. So in the doing of it, I learned a huge amount about how to do this. And I think the best thing about that was when I said to Dan, I said, what were the tracks like? Was it all right? And he said, they were exceptional. So I was quite pleased with that. But even that, then there's things you think, I would just do this different next time, tweak it a bit, So I think that what's been learned will be reflected in the next thing we do.
Yeah.
The album.
Yeah.
But in terms of, will it change anything? I mean, the thing about, we're talking about the vocals. We did 2 vocal sessions, and first session Shaun did like the old songs and sort of the new version of the old songs. Mm-hmm. Second session, we did the 2 new songs. We did Black Narcissus and Omerta, and we were just throwing ideas down because I didn't have a firm idea where vocals were going. I had a sort of inkling. We were just throwing ideas down, and it was just so creative. It was just.
It was a pleasure.
And Shaun's vocals were way better second time around, and it was just, I was like, should we redo the first session? Because
we did think about that, didn't we? Yeah,
just as well they were so good. Just as well they were so good the second time around because you're going to get kicked out of the band.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll fuck off back to America. It's fine. No, it was like what Richard said. You know, it was super creative. I mean, we spent pretty much the whole day right on those 2 tracks, Rich. And you know, and we you know threw out a few lyrics and rearranged a few things, and it just felt like what I imagine real writing is like. You know, you see bands who can just go in the studio and sort of riff and write things together, and you know, we don't do that, like we said, but it felt like that. You know, from a lyrical perspective, and we tried a lot of stuff, and you know, we messed up things, but it was just nice to not have that time constraint on us. So we would definitely do more of that, I think.
So how was it at the end of the day for you? How was the throat for you, and how do you think you're going to cope doing a 30 to 40 minute set, for example, growling?
Well, I felt really good at the end of that, but you know, it's like I think live is different. You probably push yourself a little bit more. You know, when we rehearse, I mean, we do like 3 or 4 hours rehearsal. I don't sing every time we play. You know, there's a lot of just guitar and drum stuff, but you know, I probably do 20 tracks during that time, and it's been okay. You know, it's definitely not as easy as it used to be, but you know, lots of liquid help.
Do you not do your do re mi fa sol la ti do or anything like that? No?
Maybe that's something I should take up. Right? we do use what were they called, Rich? That you found the throat lozenges. We use those vocals on throat lozenges. Those are pretty good. So we have a little bit of that.
Do you know, I've had a number of interviews and they used that and they find that so beneficial. Definitely.
Yeah. It's a good find. That, and instead of brown ale, I actually drink a lot of smoothies. A lot of smoothies.
Thanks, guys.
I must say, Ricky, that you know, back one of those kind of early rehearsals we did when we get back together, you know, and we had, you know, with John blasting out on drums, and then we were kind of wondering, you know, what Shaun's going to bring to the party. You know, can he still do it? You know, and I just remember just hearing him coming across the PA. And it was just awesome. It was just phenomenal. Just looking across the Rich, and it was just like, wow.
I bet Shaun, after you done the song, you walked out and you were like that.
Yeah, it's funny, when we had the rehearsal the other day. The first time I'd sung with our new bassist, and I think he said, "Your vocals are sick" or something like that. And our esteemed drummer said, "Don't go blowing fucking smoke up his ass." So I took it as a compliment.
Yeah. Good. Like his head out the door.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks for that, guys. But you're releasing the EP. Well, maybe you're not releasing it independently. Like, where can we get the album? And further down the line, would you like the backing of the label, or do you guys like it that way, that you're releasing it independently, or you just like to, you don't want the pressure of deadlines and you've got to do this by this time and all the rest of it. You just like doing things yourselves at your own pace?
I think we're open-minded to anything, really, aren't we? I mean, I don't think there's any sort of prescripted expectation of how something should be released. Yeah.
So, like, where will we be able to get the EP then?
Well, I think the vinyl and the CD, it's Cosmic Key Creations that are doing it, so they have a website. They're more known for doing reissues of, you know, major death metal band, you know, Sinister and big name bands. He does Unleashed and stuff. So he sells by his website, and I assume distros will have it as well. I mean, I'm guessing. And the tape. Matcha Records are doing that, so they'll sell through the usual ways they sell. So, but yeah, I mean, we're open to whatever, aren't we? I mean, we, you know, if Nuclear Blast had said, you know, do you want to do something, we would say yeah, probably.
And we're gonna have copies for sale as well, right?
Yeah, that's the important bit. Yeah, we want that.
Yeah, well, it will definitely be cool to get like a personalized copy. One of the things that I like doing is like getting a CD and getting you guys to sign it. So when it's ready and when you've got them, you know exactly who'll be placing an order.
Nice.
Absolutely, and it's good to see that Kendall from Brain Bath and Macho Recordings are going to do the tape as well. I've got a tape player down the stairs. I've got a cupboard full of tapes as well, so I still do that. I don't have much vinyl, but tapes. I've still got Iron Maiden Number the Beast. It was like a yellow tape, 1982, is it, or something like that?
Yes, I know that.
You can't read the song titles anymore. They're rubbed off, but still plays. Still plays. But it's good to see that you're getting backing from various labels to release the music, because it deserves to be released.
We didn't want to self-finance, really. I mean, that that's kind of a step beyond for me. And I mean, to have, to order a load of vinyl and have it sat in your room, like, what am I going to do with this now, sort of thing. I mean, that's the beauty of a label. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it was something we considered, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
The whole DIY thing, but kind of said to the guys, because back in the day, I used to run a kind of label, and it's always seems a good idea. Yeah, just go and get stuff pressed, and I'll be able to get kind of shot of it, no problem. But there's so much work involved, and we didn't really want to get bogged down with all that kind of side of it, the whole kind of business side of trying to kind of, get these albums, CDs distributed and stuff. That's really hard work. It's really difficult. And we just want to just focus on the music and doing the gigs. And if a label can take care of everything else, mostly, then I think that's the best way for us to go. And just the offer we got from Cosmic Keys was, absolutely phenomenal. It was just one of those that, that came out of the blue, and absolutely honoured to sign with them.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, you're doing your music for yourselves, and if anybody else likes it, it's a bonus.
Totally.
So, fair play. And I know that, Rich, it'll be cool to have your vinyl and your CD and your tape on your wall behind you with all your other albums and stuff like that. Mark, right next to your guitars, and there'll certainly be a hell of a better background than you've got, Shaun.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
No comment.
But we've had your bit, Shaun. But what about yourselves, Mark and Rich? What's your guitar? What guitar did you use for the recording of the EP? And what's your setup? What's your amps? Your pedals? What's your gear?
Most of the me or Mark?
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Most of the EP is this. It's a headless guitar. Oh, no, I hate headless guitar.
Is that a 7-string?
It is. It's a Strandberg 7-string.
You actually use the 7 strings, or you're just showing off?
No, I've got 5 7-strings. So, yeah, we're a 7-string band. I mean, we used to be 6-string tune B stand, and it's just like, it's going out of tune. It's awful. It's like, fuck this. So 7-string just makes sense for us. I mean, obviously some people don't like 7-string. That's absolutely fine. You don't have to play one. But for me, I love them.
Yeah.
And I've got, as I say, I've got 5 of them. So yeah.
So what do you tune it to?
It's just B standard. It's not, we don't tune any lower than the sort of standard 7-string tuning. I mean, I think B is plenty low, really, for us.
Something tells me, though, that you're the geek of the band. And when we look at your pedal board, there's like 40 pedals on it.
Well, I used to have but the pedal board, we use like a modeler. We're doing blasphemous. We use an HX Stomp, so it's a Helix, but in like a little pedal. So our rigs are really simple. They're just a Helix, a power amp that fits on your pedal board, and a tuner. That's it.
Ah, right.
But for the recording, we used a Kemper profiler, which is over there. Cool. So again, modeling. But
so, what's the make and model of that guitar that you showed us?
This is our kind of rig.
That's it. That's the rig.
That's very nice.
It's a Strandberg, that.
Sorry, you say that again, Rich?
Strandberg,
yeah. So what are you going to do, like, if you're in the middle of a 30-40 minute set and your string breaks? Do you have a backup guitar?
I've got a Jackson 7-string. It's probably what I'm going to use. I mean, can you see that behind the BC
yes.
Rich?
That
is also 7-string. So yeah, I've got loads of options.
That's a beautiful BC Rich. Beautiful. Thank you very much for that, Rich. What about yourself, Mark? What was your guitar of choice?
I've kind of morphed into a kind of Schecter guy these days, so You know,
Was there a particular reason for that? Like, what did you use before, and what made you?
Well, I took some very good advice from Rich, who knows his gear inside out. You know, and yeah, I was looking for something it's really going to suit me. You know, and he recommended the Keith Merrill 7 string. So I've got one of these here, which I use, you know, back home in Glasgow for kind of playing and rehearsing and stuff. And I've got a Schecter Hellraiser for for rehearsals that I keep down at Richard's, so I don't have to, you know, kind of carry a guitar, you know, across country, you know, every time we kind of rehearse, you know. So I've got guitars kind of hidden away all over the place, you know. So but yeah, no, it's mainly kind of Schecter, you know, the KM7 and the kind of Hellraiser is what.
Are you 7-string as well?
Yeah.
Were you 6, and then when you spoke to Rich, you moved on to 7 as well?
Yeah. You know, I was, because we'd always tuned down to kind of B standard always, you know, and when you do that in a kind of 6-string, you know, it creates a bit of fob, you know, on your strings, you know. So, but you know, if you move to a kind of 7-string, you know, your top string, you know, naturally kind of tunes to B, you know. So it's just perfect for us, you know. It's just the ideal thing, you know. So back in the day, back in the early 90s, you know, 7 strings were just not a thing at all, you know. So you know, it's just that thing. I mean, technology has really kind of, you know, it's really come of its own for us, you know, in terms of everything we do, you know, just in terms of the gear and everything else, you know. Just because we are a kind of mobile band and we're kind of doing things on the hoof, you know, just our kind of rig and our, you know, kind of setup and stuff, you know, it's all kind of worked out pretty well.
Good. Thank you very much, guys. Before I say my goodbyes, when you're going to be playing this gig in January, do you wish that you still had the head of hair that you had back in the early 90s? Well, especially you, Shaun.
Me? I could have it if I wanted it.
Can I say it's been an absolute pleasure? I love talking to bands that were there back in the day. As it comes closer to the EP launch, I'll do a review for Moshville Times. I will continue to play it on Moshville Radio. You're in a very healthy band chat, Rich. You're going to get promoted to fuck. So there's only going to be good things that are going to be happening for Malediction, and hopefully the gig in January is not going to be the only gig that people will be able to see. So it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys.
You too. Thanks, man.
No, thanks a lot, Ricky.
Absolutely. Take care now. Right. Thanks.
Cheers.